What's going on, guys? Chris Talks Cal here, back with another video. And on the day of January 24th, with the portal coming to a close, we can finally officially say that Cal had the #1 transfer class in the ACC. With a total of 30 new players in the portal, and the number 13 ranked class on 247 in the nation, it's safe to say this was a slam dunk success for Tosh Okoye and company. And the only thing left to remark on, honestly, for me, on the negative side, is we should actually be ranked higher. Can someone at 247 tell me why Kentucky is ranked number 9 and Cal is ranked number 13? Both of us have 29 commits. Both of us have 5 4-stars and 23 3-stars exactly. Our average ranked player is higher at 87.11s to their 87.00, and yet they're number 9 and we're 13? They're not ready for the conversations of Cal having a top 10 transfer class nationally. They're just not ready for it. But we are. So today we're going to take stock. We're going to take stock of everything we got coming back, of everything we got coming in. We're going to take a look at the old Chris Talks Cal depth chart and see what's going on. Starting with the defensive line, where a couple videos ago, I told you guys that Tosh Okoye is gonna, and that he did. Starting with the new coaching staff additions of Darian Daniels, Ed McIlvra, and personal favorite of mine, should be a personal favorite of yours, Cal legend, former teammate of Tosh Okoye's, 2-time NFL Pro Bowler, former All Pac-12 player, Lorenzo Alexander, coming out of retirement to come bring the Bears back to glory. In this projected depth chart, I'm operating under the assumption that Tosh Okoye is going to run the same 4-2-5 system that he ran at Oregon. And I think that's why you see so many defensive ends being brought into the transfer portal, with a whopping 5 pass rushers brought in. Now, of these 5, the one that I think is most likely to end up at #1 on the depth chart, at least on one of the ends, is Solomon Williams. This guy's a classic Florida freak athlete. So much explosion and speed. Look at the dip he has getting around this offensive tackle to disrupt that play. Now, this high school film impresses the hell out of me, and then you think that he actually spent 2 years after this training with nothing but NFL players at Texas A&M, who's widely regarded as having one of the best defenses in the SEC. So by the time he hits the field for Cal, I think he'll be really ready to take that starting defensive end role as a total problem for opposing quarterbacks. Ashton Shepard is another SEC blue chip athlete that we brought in from Mississippi State. Missed last year due to injury, but it was really more shutting his season down early so he could save eligibility and make a little more NIL. This guy's had a year off, he's hungry, and I think he'll be ready to roll on that opposite side if I did have to pick someone. North Texas football was quietly 12-2 last year. Had one of the premier defenses in the American Conference, and we got both of their depth defensive ends, including Jaden Williams, who's actually their starter. The two of them from North Texas, along with Justin Beadles from Louisville, should really ensure that we have enough depth to prevent the sort of defensive fatigue that we suffered a lot last year, especially in a game against like Hawaii. With the amount of talent that we brought in with these 3 backups, along with Ashton Shepard, Solomon Williams, and Okoye, we should be able to be rotating our defensive ends in and out all game long to ensure steady pressure on the quarterback. I love TJ Bush, and I think he was in great shape. But rushing the quarterback and going against the team's best offensive lineman, their left tackle, all day and all night is tiring. And I think you saw diminishing returns as games went on a lot for Cal football. Now, before we go to the defensive tackles, I want to talk about the most exciting player that we brought in just in terms of sheer size, and that's Emmanuel Okoye. Standing at with a 7'2" wingspan and 44.5-inch vertical, this guy was spotted at a talent camp in Ghana, Africa from Lagos. He hails from Lagos, Nigeria, was brought up to the NFL Academy in England, and then brought on to Tennessee where he developed for 2 years before coming to Cal.
Emmanuel Okoye, played for the NFL Academy as a defensive end.
For a guy who hadn't been trained, the ability for him to put up those kind of numbers was fantastic. He's the prototype of what we're looking for.
He's like a freak athlete, man. A lot of coaches are in a state of shock.
I know I'm blessed with physical gifts, and I know I could do better than that.
Me coming from Nigeria to the best facilities in Europe is a huge blessing. Looking to be the best person I can be, the best player I can ever be. If I tell someone my story, they just feel like, wow.
He's got the chance to be the most athletic guy to ever play the position. I truly believe that. He is as physically gifted as anybody I've ever been around. He's got to continue to make steps every day. But just from a raw athletic standpoint, the ceiling is unlimited.
Yeah, based on those videos, I think it's safe to say he's a pretty exciting prospect. And I know, obviously the issue is how green he is, especially picking up an injury last year. But luckily for us, those videos were 2 years ago. So Tennessee did a little bit of our dirty work in terms of developing him in the NFL, in a collegiate weight room, and having him study film every day. This guy was playing basketball just 4 years ago, but I'm sure he made so many strides over with the Tennessee Volunteers, and I'm really excited to see what Lorenzo Alexander and Tosh Chapoy can do coaching him up this offseason. On the interior, there's going to be a lot less change. In terms of defensive tackle, I'm very excited to get Nate Burrell back from injury. People forget, man, he was our team captain, our leader, our run stopper, and part of the reason why we had so much success in 2023 and 2024 against the run on that defense. Nate Burrell had to miss all of last season due to injury, where he spent the entire year really taking on even more of a leadership role, where players described him as being sort of like an extra coach walking around, and I know he's just been raring to get back on the field. And honestly, it was kind of a blessing in disguise for him to be able to spend his last year in the new era of Cal football and seeing us back to glory after all the time he's put in for the program. Now, I talked earlier about Emmanuel Okoye and his 7'2" wingspan, how he's just going to be batting balls down right and left. Well, he should learn a thing or two from Derek Wilkins, the bat down king himself, who we have returning. I didn't realize, did anyone else not realize that Derek Wilkins had another year of eligibility? He's played 4 years here. He's been improved so steadily over his time, and I'm so glad to hear that he's got another year of eligibility coming back for us. I would make the argument that he was our best defensive lineman last year, maybe outside of Aiden Kianina. Now, as good as Derek Wilkins and Nate Burrell are, I think Jericho Johnson's going to be our new #1 interior defensive lineman. This guy is absolutely massive. From Fairfield, California, 6'4", 340 pounds. If you come from Oregon in the trenches, you should know Oregon don't play about the trenches. And Jericho Johnson was getting minutes as a redshirt freshman. This guy's a 4-star. I don't care what 247 says. I think it's hilarious, right? Oregon had 3 second-string defensive linemen. Tioni Gray, Ashton Porter, Jericho Johnson. Tioni Gray, Ashton Porter, yeah, they get ranked as like 95 overall, 94 overall 4-stars because they go to Notre Dame. And yet, Jericho Johnson commits to Cal. He had the exact same stats as those other two guys, built exactly the same ratings out of high school, high 4-star, and yet he's a 3-star on 247, 89. Yeah, whatever. They're just dinging us. But Jericho Johnson, complete stud. Now, last year, Cal had one of the most experienced defensive line units in all of the ACC. So many seniors. So that's why I was really impressed and surprised to see players like B.J. Kennedy and Michael Okwara get real minutes. And I was shocked by the kind of athleticism they showed. Okwara really impressed me against Louisville with that sack he had. And those players are going to continue to grow. It was very impressive that Tosh Chapoy and Darian Daniels were able to retain that sort of depth, which is only going to improve as these players mature and get older, while also getting rid of Andrew Browning, the defensive line coach, still convincing everyone to stay. One of the most talked about positions, and one of the positions that people are, I feel like, least confident right now, is the linebacker position, where you see the departures of really good players, Luke Farrelly and Keita Luabe, obviously much beloved, and now Luke Farrelly is sort of the poster child of like portal terrorism, which I think is hilarious. Shout out Dabo Sweeney, fight the good fight. But what you're seeing is an overall scheme change. Wilcox treated his linebackers sort of as hole fillers. Keita Luabe described his defensive line as like an offensive line for a quarterback in a weird way. And I kind of understood what he meant is like the defensive line under the Wilcox system was sort of funneling players into holes so that the linebackers, Keita Luabe, could make the tackle. So that was kind of how we were doing. That was sort of the goal. Whereas this new defensive line in this new system, the goal is to sack the quarterback. The defensive line in no way is setting up the linebackers. The defensive line is just go, 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 go. And so our linebackers need to have speed. They don't need to be stout, short and stout like Keita Luabe, Harrison Taggart, Luke Farrelly. They need to just be able to fly. And what I mean by that is the linebackers are going to be asked to cover a lot of space, just by virtue of there only being 2 operating on the field rather than 4. So they have a lot more ground to cover along with the nickelback in coverage and along in run support. Starting with Kamar Matudi, who came over along with Tosh Chapoy from Oregon, along with Jericho Johnson. So someone who Tosh has had the pleasure of coaching for already over a year now, and someone who was really highly recruited out of high school as just an athletic freak, another twitch athlete who fits the bill of, like I said, someone who can cover ground. Kamar led his entire high school conference, not just in tackles and sacks, but also rushing yards, which just speaks to the type of athlete and the type of speed that he carries. And starting opposite to Kamar, I would predict Aaron Hampton to be the man for the job. People talk about Luke Farrelly a lot, leaving and Keita Luabe, but the kind of quiet story of Cal football was that Aaron Hampton was actually quietly supplanting Luke Farrelly on that starting role as the season went on. I've talked about him in past videos, but the rate of improvement of King Sam and Aaron Hampton out of Alaska is really quite fascinating, and I can't wait to see how it's just going to turbocharge with Tosh Lupoi and Lorenzo Alexander coaching him every day. Along with him now having a full offseason to look back at his time, getting those minutes, feeling what it was like to be out there on a Power 5 field, and now being able to look at that film and improve on it. So very excited to see what Aaron Hampton has got in store. Behind him, we've got Odero Okaka and Sirinye Tunkara, who I always thought were a pleasure to watch every time they took the field for Cal and gave us really adequate depth. And I'm sure with this new staff, they'll also see improvement as good depth pieces on backup. And a guy that USC was really upset to lose is AJ Tuitele, someone who won't wow you with his measurables particularly, but someone who adds to the Polynesian culture on the team and makes open field tackles and is really promising. And they were really upset to lose. There was like many videos of them sort of whistleblowing red flags about losing him to Cal. So guys, in conclusion, if I had one word to describe this new defensive front seven that we brought in under Tosh Lupoi, it would be athletic. A guy like Aaron Hampton and Kamar Matuidi, these guys played offense in high school, so raw, but they're going to be getting sideline to sideline so fast. I think I've said plenty about the D-line. And so it's going to be a really tall task for the Cal coaching staff, who's all new, to come and coach these guys up to the best of their abilities. But I think they can do it. And I think this is going to be a really different looking defense than you've ever seen Cal play. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, guys, we're out of time to cover the secondary. I'll be sure to cover it in a later video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this preview of our new front seven and you've enjoyed all the content. I'll have my next video out by next week, reacting to your hot takes. If you've got any more, make sure to leave them in the comments. And with that, have a great day. Go Bears, guys. Thank you.